Hey, I'm Andy, and welcome to Rock, Roll, and Red Plaid.
Oh my,
Whoa!
we are getting serious now. Rock, Roll, and Red Plaid podcast here with the one and the only. Welcome to 1974, Robbie Stokes. How are you?
It's good to be here, man. Me and Andy and I have not spoken. What's it? What would you say, Andy? Like
I
a decade now.
I graduated 2013, and I think the last I heard from you was a year after, so just about, yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious! It's great to be here. I'm ready to talk music and whatever else is happening,
Whatever
man.
happens, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember hearing of your music that you did because
hmm
we went to high school together, and we had a infamous TV production school class together, which we'll get into in a
hmm
minute.
I miss those days.
Oh, the tapes I have, I got things that no one has seen before. Is that good or bad?
Never to be seen again. No, maybe Andy will throw something in for you.
I
We'll see.
maybe we'll see.
Maybe.
But what I was gonna say, my first question is that your songs really seem to come from a whole other universe.
Mm,
And by that, I mean, you and I both raised in late 90s, early aughts, as they say, early
yeah,
2000s,
that's right.
North Shore of Boston, which could be a tougher area. But your songs to me are the good timey pop music of Southern California in the 1960s.
Yeah, I love it.
It's yeah, where did that come from? Because to me, it's like it's a complete juxtaposition. Where'd that come
So
from?
let me
Yeah.
tell you something. So when we were in class together all those years ago, I had not been making music at that time. Nope,
Mm,
never thought of it and had no plans. Okay. But I was listening to music. I was listening to a lot of 1960s pop music, Frankie Valli, Four
hmm
Seasons, Paul Anka, Bobby V.
hmm
And I always adored that sound. I guess you could say it's not really like the California, like the Beatles and, Beach Boys thing,
Right.
but it's more of like the 1960s, like the sunshine pop, like the teeny
Yeah.
bopper music, which
Yes.
I adore. I think it's really catchy, makes you feel good. The hooks and the melodies and the chord progressions are all
Mm.
great. So time passed, and the pandemic happened. And a week before we went on lockdown, I got my very first guitar because we were all picking up weird hobbies during that era. I'm
Sure.
sure I'm sure you did. We were all locked in.
Yeah.
And this was the turning point where I think I was like, you know what? Let's try it. So I
Yeah.
used my knowledge from the songs that I had. I mean, I listened to them up until I started making music. So, and I still do. Uh, the chord progressions in those songs were very, G, E, C, D. And I love the repetition in I like repetition in songs and songs that
hmm
tell a story. So the easiest chord progression, I started with it, and then
Sure.
the rest was history.
Oh
you know
man.
I adopted a lot of those elements from those early 60s pop songs
Yeah.
into my stuff, and I love it.
I can hear it. It's like it's one of those things where like wearing your influences on your sleeve,
That's
you
right,
know?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, as you can see literally.
It's
Now i don't
same
i don't
as
know what
yeah.
I don't know what era this is going to be.
I
i
don't
I'm like the Jimmy Buffett. I think I'm in like my Jimmy Buffett tropical rock era,
I love that.
but
But of
we'll
course
see what
he's
happens.
course he just did you ever get to see him before he passed or
No, I
me
wish I
neither.
did. He was great, man.
I loved that whole persona of like not only just his persona, but everything that like they were barbecuing out in the parking lot and people just hanging
Yeah.
out. It was more of a not just a concert, it was an event, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, and I love that. I love that about Jimmy's music. I love that. I love
Ironically, Jimmy.
yeah, exactly. I like any song, any type of music that can make you feel that
Yeah,
kind of way. So
yeah,
whatever. I adopted some of that, I guess.
yeah. Uh, it really just seemed like a very easy style for you to fit into. Maybe it's just listening to it for so long, it's like it absorbs into you.
Yeah.
Do you feel you had any development phase? Like there were songs you wrote where you're just like, I'm throwing these away, or did you feel like it just kind of clicked real easily for you?
I really don't have too many throwaway tracks. If you've been looking at my tunes, the first album that I did called Loverboy,
Hmm.
uh, it's a concept album, I guess. Which is kind of it was the whole thing, the whole idea. I've always wanted to. Well, now we're talking like we're kind of deep into the pandemic now. I'm like,
Hmm.
I have all this influence from these songs I was listening to. I'm gonna put a modern twist on that
Hmm.
teeny bopper sunshine pop vibe, and
Hmm.
spin it. And those songs are essentially demos that I cleaned up. I did all those tracks during COVID.
Right.
uh so nothing really became a throwaway track.
No.
uh Tracks,
Right.
pretty much everything that you got with Loverboy were the throwaway tracks.
Well, you know
But
what
it
it
turned
is?
out it shaped
Yeah.
up to be a really cool project. That was like my getting my foot in the door. I never released music prior, and you know
Yeah.
goofy little love album came out of it.
That's yeah, it's I can't I guess the water's not helping, but it's
You
all
gotta
right.
wet your whistle, Andy. Wet the
I know,
whistle.
I know. Jeez. But um I always say about like parts of demos, if there's a part of the demo that is better, like I call them scratch tracks, that's the
Yeah.
technical term, but it's like a placeholder. But really, I feel like if it sounds good and it works, don't touch it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know?
Yeah. You know
That's
what? It's funny you say that because I've always felt I didn't adjust the songs too much from when I recorded them to when
mm,
they hit the final stages. Because
sure.
I think a demo, you have it might not sound the best, but it has the initial feeling captured in that track.
Mm,
And I think if you try to add this and that, and you try to finalize it and shine it up, it
yeah.
loses some of that human touch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You probably feel the same way.
I have There is a song on my album that I did during the pandemic called The Red Guitar Chronicles,
That's
where
a great album. That's a great
thank you.
album.
Yeah. There's a song on there which was the single called This Is Goodbye in Reprise,
Yep,
where there
yep.
is maybe 8 bars, 16 at the most, where there's not even a guitar solo. It's just like a little lead fill.
Yeah.
Robbie, I might have done that in a take like close to 60 times. Just sitting here, well,
Yep,
at the
yep.
old house where I was. Do, dee, 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 dee. Yeah, I can't do this
It's
right.
like, yeah, it's like, why am I trying to recapture it? Just in that case, because I've done the same
Right.
thing, I
Hmm.
just use the original.
But you know what's funny is that I was working on my iMac at the time that was from 2009
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
in 2020,
Whatever it takes.
whatever it takes, you know. Um, and I only had limited resources at that time,
Sure.
and there's pandemic, and there's only so much you can do, and
Yep.
for anything really. And I remember it wasn't so much about playing it right. There was a vibe that I was after. The
Yes.
the the slight bit of vibrato or whatever the case it
Hmm.
was, but when you hear it, that's what I wanted. And I drove myself totally crazy. I
Yeah.
remember my father came out about 25 takes in and he I had headphones
Yeah.
on, thank
You're
goodness,
right in
but
here, Andy. You're right.
yeah, seriously. And he goes, well, let me hear what you got. I'm like, oh, all right. And he's hearing it back through the little speakers I had, and he
Sure.
goes, oh, this is great. You got. I'm like, no, I got to do it again.
Right.
And he's
Right.
like, son, no, this is fantastic. And I go, no, I got to do it again. And he just goes, you're nuts.
It's like you don't get it. I'm trying to capture this. I get it.
But it's funny when I had him, he sang on a Peter Frampton cover we did during the pandemic too, actually, which I think is up on my YouTube channel.
Oh yeah. Okay. All
And
right. Sure.
might have been the first thing up there, but he did the backgrounds. And when he was doing the backgrounds, he finally got what I meant. He goes,
I get it now.
oh, this is what you're after.
The light bulb went off.
Not that, whatever, but it was just funny because unless you're in that certain situation for yourself, you don't
Right.
always understand it. Could be for any artist, could be for
Hmm.
anyone doing any project.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny you say
Yeah.
that because, like, again, with the music that I do, and like you were just saying with the music you do, sometimes you're not making it. Some people aren't going to get it, some people aren't going to understand, but at the end of the day, you're making it for yourself, which I went into this whole music thing with that in mind. It's like, I'm not. I have no one to impress. I don't have an audience yet. I'm just making this stuff to have fun.
Of
And if
course.
they don't get it, or this sounds off to somebody, whatever. You're doing it for just to have fun and to kill some time and to
Just
be
to,
creative.
yeah. I mean, do I even have a copy of the physical album around here? So there is a physical album copy of the Red Guitar somewhere.
Okay, sure, yeah.
It's got all the cover songs on there too. There's a Elton John cover. There's a Peter Frampton
Mhm.
cover. There's a Bruce Springsteen cover. All this stuff. I didn't have a horn section, obviously, so
Right.
I did all the horns in the Bruce Springsteen song on guitar.
Okay, yeah. You got to do those little tricks. Tricks of
Yeah,
the trade.
yeah. And what was so funny is that it wound up being something ridiculous, like 60 guitar tracks, not even just tracks. It was like 60 guitar tracks of
Sure.
just little, because there's just one part where the baritone sax would go, "Did it,"
Yeah.
and that would just, I would have to put that in somewhere,
Yeah, there you go. I didn't hear your new album quite yet. I know you just put one out, but the last bit of music that I heard from you was the EP that you put out. It was like the really cool intro. It's like, Billy Fitz or something like that. I love that.
Oh, the Johnny Fitz. Yeah, that was the
Oh
Balance
yeah,
EP.
that's it. Johnny Fitz. Yeah, that's great.
Who is a real person, by the way.
He may be the fifth Beatle.
He's not the fifth Beatle but
That's
everything
right.
else he's been there and done that.
That's a great little set of tracks,
He's
like little bite-sized thing.
yeah, and that's really where I'm at these days is like, and I learned this from Ronnie Radke from Falling in Reverse, where he was very smart in saying full-length albums don't always translate to the general public.
Sure, absolutely.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And you put so much time and effort into stuff like this. You really do.
Are you talking about like the way that it's listened to, or just in a general sense?
The way it's listened to, the way it's consumed, if it's bought,
Yeah.
if it's people are just listening to 3 or 4 or 5 songs from a 12-song album,
Right.
what's the point of the rest of those songs?
That's how
How
I
many
kind of
people are
feel.
going to hear them,
Yeah. I mean, especially with the album that I just put out, it's called A Dose of Reality. I set
Mhm.
those songs up in such a specific way that it's kind of meant to be played through in full. Because
Yeah.
I know, like you said, a lot of people, if they, I'm guilty of doing this when I was younger, because I didn't really get the point of,
Mhm.
I would buy, standout tracks from an album, tracks I
Yeah.
liked, or didn't buy the ones I didn't like. But
Right.
if you're putting an album out, it's important the way you set the songs up. If you want it to
Yeah.
be listened to in a certain order,
Yeah. The entire Red Guitar album that I did is a concept album.
Mhm.
And it's got 5 in the CD is how it's supposed to be listened to.
Right. I
Not
think
the
that's
digital,
important.
not the digital version. This is a big preface here,
Right.
because half of it is cover songs.
Sure.
There's
Sure.
because I couldn't get licensing, and that would be just a headache. And as
Yeah.
real quick, doing that. The opening song is like it's almost like a movie. The opening song is like your opening credits and stuff.
Sure.
And then there's a short skit where I talk to the guitar and the guitar talks back to me through a Framptone talk box,
Okay. Yep.
that
I
kind of
love
thing.
it.
And the whole point is that through this imaginatory gig that me and Red, the guitar, are playing, I'm having a conflict with her back and forth between like, oh, I want to play this song. Oh, I don't want to play that song. And the thing and the thing and the thing. And
Right.
by the end of the album, the quote unquote the guitar realizes that the show's over and they still want to play.
Yeah. See, that's awesome. That's really
And
cool.
then
I love
I
that.
have to be like, well, we're going home now. Oh, and no one's here. It's like think of like Smoky Bar, no one's left in the place,
Yeah. You're
It's like
telling a story.
yeah, you're telling a story. And
Yeah.
that is the way it's supposed to be played out. And then the second to the last song is technically the end of the story, but the last song is the credits rolling.
100%. I get it. I love that.
You see?
I love that. I love that. I'm all about it.
And that Manic Spell was the credits rolling, that song.
Sure.
So that's the kind of it's supposed to be listened to like that, but at the same time, I way overdid it for an album that's on average albums are like 45 minutes. That one's like an hour, an hour 10. So it's a bit of a Spielberg movie, so to speak.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you're right. So going back to like the way albums are set up, like you said, like yours was like a story. I feel like a bit of that is lost these days with social
Absolutely.
media and like the TikTok. I'm not sure if you're on there. I'm not really,
Me neither.
but it's all like short form content. And if you want to feature music, you get like 5-10 seconds to do it. It's like that's how it's being done. That's how music's being consumed these days, and you lose some of the art form if you're with that, and it's sad. But what are you gonna do?
Well, it's a different. I
It's a
hate
different world.
to make us sound like boomers, but it's a
That's
different
right.
world now.
That's right. Well, because we're not far apart in age. You're only like what, like a year older than me, right?
I just turned 30, so
Oh, no
yeah.
kid. Okay, so I'm gonna be 29 this year. Oh my
There you
god.
go. Yeah, it's nothing. Yeah.
Oh my god.
We of course went to high school together, and we got
That's
a.
right.
I guess I wore my influences on my sleeve at that point.
You did. You
Yeah,
did.
and I still kind of do. It's like this. That's not changing. It's like I always say my Mount Rushmore
Mhm.
of guitar players: Joe Satriani, Brian May from Queen, Mark Tremonti from Alter Bridge, and Eddie Van Halen, King Edward.
Yes. Andy, I always remember Andy being very into his music. I remember this very specifically. Andy, I don't know if you remember this. We were all gathered in Cabot's room, and you played on the computer the David Lee Roth Just a Gigolo music video. And I remember that day so clearly because I'm like, this is far out. Like I knew of Van Halen. I didn't know who this guy was necessarily,
Sure.
but I'm like, this is freaking awesome. This is the coolest. The video was awesome. The song was even better. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like,
I remember
I
you.
love this.
You know, it's funny now that you say that.
That's one of my
I
favorite
remember you
songs
being
of
over
all
my
time.
shoulder, be like, "What is this?"
Yeah, I'm like, this is crazy.
And then we had to sneak it into our project.
I ain't got nobody. Humala baby, lizzy, blah, 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 humala baby, lizzy, blah, bop.
There,
That's right. That's right.
Bop, bozy, bop.
Diamond Dave, baby. That's such a great video. That's such a great era for music too.
Well, that was such a throwback even then, because
I
that was
know.
a Louis Prima song.
Right.
You know?
That's right. There's some lore behind it. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, the Louis Prima version.
But just
I like Dave's. I like Dave's more. I'm not gonna lie.
Come on, the video alone brought it to a whole nother level.
That's right.
I mean,
Cool video.
the first time I ever heard one of him doing those, thing was actually in the first SpongeBob movie. Do you recall this? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right when I heard it in the video, I'm like, I made the connection.
Yeah.
But when I saw the SpongeBob movie, I'm like, what the hell is this? I thought it was like just made for the movie.
Yeah.
It's so like out of pocket. I'm like, why would they put this in there? It's so great.
The white suit, of course, is
right.
Dave. And the reason Dave did that, even the white suit, was from Cab Calloway from the 1920s. Those song and dance guys. My goodness, they
so
really.
That's a callback.
Even that, it's all connected. It's all intertwined.
Right.
But we got to shout out everybody from that class. I mean, Sean, AJ, Lauren, Juan, Joseni, Rachel, Amber, Adam. I think that's everybody.
Oh my god, yeah. Holy smoke. Yeah. And I was just telling
I
you
have it written down.
I'm like,
I'm not that good at memory.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like, holy smokes. No. So Andy and I, before we started this, it's like such a fun class, precious memories. But I haven't spoken to these guys since we left that class. It's like, damn, life gets in the way, and everyone's pulled into different directions. I would like to see what everyone's up to these days.
I would, if that became a thing for this podcast, I would have everybody on.
That would be hilarious.
And Cabot,
absolutely, dude. He's a music guy too.
I know he's a drummer. Heck of a drummer.
How funny, dude! How funny would it be?
He had like
collabed.
He had like the Neil Peart sized drum kit in the back room.
Yep, absolutely.
It's like this Mungo drum kit that you could barely walk past.
The green room.
The green room. I remember that.
Yep.
I remember. What was one of the warning? This is about as past PG as this podcast will get. I just remember we were filming in the long hallway where all the lockers were. I think on the second floor.
Okay. Yep. The orange floor.
Is that the one? I
think
think
so.
I can't remember. They always changed it, but anyhow. um we're doing a take of something where somebody's gonna get shoved into the lockers or something, just something stupid
Wait,
like that.
it was the Nurgle skit.
Oh yeah. Where like frame of reference, there was this like horrible monster like death metal singer named Nurgle, and I'm just like, let's make him into a comedy skit because he takes
Right.
himself far too seriously.
It was like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of thing.
Yes,
Where
yes.
I was actually like the
little nerdy,
the little nerdy character, and then
and turned into me.
well, I was doing something with electricity, and I get zapped.
Yeah, you get zapped. You know.
Yeah.
But I remember there was a blooper where I was, or somebody was in front of the locker, and you slipped and went out of frame, and you just got up to the lockers and just started humping the locker.
That sounds about right for back then. Yeah, sure.
And I'm like, all right, he's gutsy.
that one I haven't seen since we put it out. Well, I say put it out. We didn't put it anywhere, but since we
think
wrapped
it's
it
on my old YouTube channel, but I'm not sure. It may have.
Oh, we were a little bit cuckoo crazy that time.
A little, a little. Some things never change.
That's right, absolutely.
But I remember the last, and I mean the last day of school I ever had. The last class I had was that class, and we were filming, some scene outside, and I had my yearbook in my hand, literally bags packed, ready to go.
Yep.
And I had that Irish tan going on, as you know.
Oh, look at you. Okay.
Very pale, whatever. And I just remember somebody wanted to Rickroll at the end of the video, and like, we don't have time to do this. So somebody just put it very last minute, and somebody put it on their phone, and they said, have Andy lip sync it, because apparently I'm good at lip syncing. And there's a section somewhere of me going, never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down, never gonna
What are you doing?
I'm never gonna let that.
I got to give some context to these guys. So we had one final project. It was Andy's last year. I was a junior. I had one more year to go, but this was a special time because this was like the original crew. The crew.
I think I was the first one to. I think I was the first one to graduate. I think of.
That's right. That's right. So we were working together. All the guys were. And we came up with this video project idea. It's like, okay, it was going to be like one mishmash of music videos. So we all picked like our favorite song at the time, I guess. And it was like, we built this world and all the music videos kind of connected
around it. Yeah.
Yeah. It transitioned pretty seamlessly. I think
we did really good, all considering.
I remember I'm like, I want this to be the best video that has ever been produced in this class. And I think we
did be all end all.
That's right. We got to put a dagger in this. I think we did pretty well.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, to end on a note like that. I mean,
right. The original crew.
Yeah, and then there's that scene of all five of us, of all the guys walking down, the middle alley there, not alley, but the little hill there.
That is a legendary shot. I remember it. Gangnam Style, and then oh my god. It was a different time.
That was of the time. Yeah, we're aging ourselves now a little bit.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's fine.
Precious times.
Oh yes. And I remember. I was already playing professionally at that point, musically, because I had graduated when I was 19. So the previous year I was 18, so I was able to play in places.
Sure.
I just remember half these places where I was like, you guys gotta get down here. This is going to be amazing. And they're like, I don't even have a driver's license to validate,
right.
whatever.
You know what? Were you in a band at that time?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
blurry. Yeah, I remember. Yep. And here I was. I'm like, never touched an instrument in my life. Well, I dabbled on the keyboard, but it's like
I
never
remember
had
that.
plans.
Yeah.
Never had plans of making music back then.
Yeah.
So it's so funny how we, now it's like we're both music guys.
Sure.
Still up and coming, but I've been up and coming since I started. But
Yeah,
whatever.
I hear you. I'll have to oh my gosh. I always thought of Mr. Cabot, who was our fearless leader as a teacher, as like
Yeah.
our Mr. Miyagi to our Karate Kids.
That's right. That's exactly how I picture it, man. Absolutely.
Man of very few words, but
Yeah, but that's okay. And that's
no,
fine.
of course. Do you remember the time where he gave Sean the correction and he was so confused by it because it was just such little correction? You remember
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
I'll enlighten the viewers here. I can't stand up because I'm wired in here, but like
Right,
Sean's sitting at the laptop here with a computer doing an edit. And Sean's edits were always good, but very
Kind of silly, but
experimental.
that's right. Yeah, but yeah, I say silly, like not as a bad thing.
In
I
an
liked it.
endearing way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely.
Because
But
mine got a little silly at some point.
oh, that's
too,
fine. And it is what it is. Nothing to
Gotta
it,
have fun. Right.
Oh, of course, But I remember Cabot comes over his shoulder and he's got his arms folded and he just looks and he goes, "No."
No.
And that was it. And he walked away.
Yeah.
And, and Sean was just like,
artists.
and Sean was just like, he looked at me. I'm like, "You're on your own, buddy. Good luck."
I want to be like, Sean, I see the vision, man. I see the vision. Keep going. I see it.
Oh man. Do you have a song of yours that is your personal favorite that like if you start playing live, if it's in the set, it's staying in the set permanently?
Oh, that's a good question. A lot of the ones that I just put out have become my favorites because lyrically they are so personal and so
Sure.
I don't want to say accurate, but what's a good word? So true to
yourself.
myself. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love that about the batch of songs that I just put out. I got very kind of dived into my psyche a little bit, my heart, and
Right.
but this is one song which has become kind of like my what's a good example? It's called the girl who got away. But it's become like the one song that kind of is doing well. What's like the Beatles' #1 track that everybody knows and loves?
All of them.
All of them. Yeah, maybe that's not a good example.
If I had to guess, just they're all. I mean,
Here Comes the Sun, probably.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
when I mean across the board, I'd say because
That's
how
kind
many
of a bad
people have covered
example.
that? There's even
Exactly.
reggae covers of that.
Yeah, it's
which
kind
would
of
be
a
really
silly
cool,
example.
actually.
But the song that I did about my ex-girlfriend in high school, which is funny because that was written it was written at the very tip of 21, but the song, the subject matter had taken place around the same time Andy and I were kind of in that class together, which is so funny. But I think it would be that song. It's not a favorite of mine, but it's kind of like your annoying little brother you get a tack on.
This one, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
There's a song of mine that I won't play live because it's too personal.
Sure.
On the acoustic album I just put out called The Sun's Electric EP.
Okay.
Which really is just a compilation of acoustic songs I've done before, but you should check it out. It's really good. Self-plug there. Sorry.
Definitely.
There's a song on there that's called Untitled. Literally called Untitled. It's about a dear friend of mine who is no longer here with us. She took her own life a number of years ago, and it took me almost 5 years to write that song to do her justice.
Right.
And about 20 minutes to record.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Because I couldn't overthink. I couldn't overthink it. Well, sure. I mean, she was just a really good person. It was just one of those things where it's like, and if I was to play that live, it'd be like I would have to face around backwards or something. I couldn't look at anybody. So I'm just like, you know what? You got the record. Listen to that if you want to hear that.
That's a fantastic way to honor somebody. You gotta send that over to me because I love songs that are personal. I like songs that tell a story, and I think that's incredible.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. It's good.
And then there's songs of mine that will never leave the set.
Yeah, yeah.
The Manic Spell is definitely one of them because that's the party song, but at the same time, that's a lyric about having bipolar.
Sure.
But the high side of bipolar, the mania. So it sounds like a debauched rock and roll party.
You know what's funny? Going back to the songs thing.
Mm.
I never played a live show before, but if we're talking about songs that make a set list, I don't think the album that I just put out, like we were kind of saying, very personal. I don't think I would do a lot of those songs live. If I did do a show, I would probably use some of the Loverboy tracks because
Sure.
they're more fun loving. They really don't make you think.
They're
You know what I
peppy.
mean?
They're peppy.
Yeah, and if I did do a live show, I'd want it to kind of be like that kind of vibe.
You do know that you can sign up and do 2 songs next week if you want.
I don't know, Andy.
Just
I don't
put
think
the
I have.
feeler out there,
I don't
just
think
saying.
I have the nerve.
Well, one of these days I may have to hold you to it.
That would be funny. We could do
a
a set together just to get me comfortable.
I'd do that with you. I'd totally do that with you. If that got your foot in the door,
Yeah, you could even. I mean, you could do, the chords to write a love song. You said that was your favorite track. You could
one
do
of
that
them.
song
Yeah,
for me,
absolutely. I think that maybe is. Yeah,
and I can do the vocals. while
I'll
you
learn
play in
that.
the back. Yeah, right. You do like a hard rock version.
No, we'll do it. I'll you know what? I've done session guitar stuff, so like if I cater to the person who's doing their thing,
That's an easy song. That's just like the standard 1950s chord progression, which is like
1-4-6-4,
yeah,
as they
that's
say.
my absolute favorite. I
Or
don't
what is
stray too far.
1-5-6-4, something like that.
I don't stray too far from it.
You don't have to. It's like 90% of popular music.
Right, you can do a lot with it. It's just
my goodness.
it's all within the melodies.
Look at Taylor Swift.
Right?
I say that with complete respect because she's done a whole thing for that.
I respect Taylor Swift.
Absolutely,
yes,
I do too.
She's doing the thing.
Yeah. Is there any artist that you ever want to collab with, who like bucket list collaboration with?
That's a good question. Who do I want to collab with? There's this gentleman that I draw inspiration from. His name's Tonetta. His music's very crass. He's from Canada. Does all of his music in his little 1-bedroom studio apartment. I think
as you do.
That's another thing that I love about music. It's like, again, going back to the human touch. It's like I like music that's done by one person in a little confined area. I just think there's something very special about it. Because pop music nowadays, it's very much like there's 18 people on one song. You know what I'm saying?
Or producers, or
right. There's something special about getting it all done. Doing the song
right here.
Yeah, you doing the lyrics, the song, all that stuff by yourself. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's special. So Tonetta would be. We've had discussions about doing collab. Yeah.
Cool.
We've laid some stuff down, but it's not 100% where I would want to be. I don't know, Andy. That's a great question. I don't know who else I'd want to collab with.
Yeah,
we could do a song together at some point.
That'd
be
in.
Cool.
I'm in. Yeah.
How funny would that be? Yeah, but you know what's funny? I just thought about. This is probably going to sound very silly, but I'm not sure if you heard the new album, but a lot of it I featured like the lap steel guitar.
I love that.
I do too, but I'm not a great lap steel player, so I would love. I think this, to answer your question, I think my number one would be any sort of talented lap steel player. There's this one guy that I've actually been talking to. He worked on SpongeBob. This is silly. I feel silly saying this. The first 2 seasons of SpongeBob, the background music of SpongeBob. Yeah, I adore that. Absolutely.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, he was a lap steel player on SpongeBob for the first couple seasons, early 90s.
How'd you get that?
Yeah, I have my ways, Andy.
I think you and me both have our ways.
Yeah, but I would love to do a song with him. Just, because I feel like I got the gist of it down. I'm still learning every day.
It's not a slide as much as it is a bar, right?
Right. It's a very tricky instrument because you got to be very precise, very on. But if you could do like a proper Hawaiian track, because that's kind of where my mind is right now. I want to do like a tropical lap steel Hawaiian record, and I don't have the talent for it quite yet.
See, so. This is a guitar slide. It's a cylindrical. It goes.
Oh,
in your finger. That's what
know.
I use.
I got this down too. This
Yeah,
is like the George.
mine's the bottleneck one because of I got a big finger there, but
I've had trouble using this. Not trying to flip you off, but
no, I got you.
um, yeah, I've always liked the sound of a slide, whether it's a
Mhm.
lap steel or one of these on a guitar. Like George Harrison is like another
Mm.
huge inspiration. Yeah, as you know, I love George Harrison. Like My Sweet Lord, All Things Must Pass is great, and then Gone Troppo. I think we talked about this once.
I think you're right. Yeah.
That is one of my favorite George records. It's so I think it was just misunderstood, honestly. I would love to do an album like that. Absolutely.
I'll have to ask my father about that because he loves anything Beatles and Beatles related. So
Yeah.
which he
Yeah.
loved your Mother Should Know cover.
Oh yeah, that I might have to clean that up and give that another shot. That's a great track.
If anything, you got to do a full version of that. That thing was amazing.
Thank you. That's a great song. I like.
Let's all get up and dance to a song that was a hit before your mother was born. Though she was born a long, long time ago, your mother should know. Your mother should know. Sing it.
I like that.
That's
album.
his favorite song. My father's favorite Beatles.
Oh,
song.
good taste from Dad. Yes. Speaking of the Beatles, I'm not really, I said George is my favorite, but it jumps around. Like I'm a George guy at heart, but I've been into Paul. When I was in high school with you, I was kind of leaning more towards John, and everybody loves Ringo.
Everybody does. No, I do.
Yeah, Ringo's good. Yeah.
Ringo in the drumming world, everybody loves Ringo. I know everybody gets in the kind of outside the drum world. He might get a little shade,
right?
But you know what? He was the drummer in Beatles, and you were not.
That's right. In respect to Paul, and respect to Ringo for still cranking after all these years, they're still cooking up.
They're still doing it, and Ringo looks like anti-aging.
I know that's amazing, man. National.
But here's my Ringo pose.
Peace and love. Peace and love. Yes.
Yeah. Any shout outs, socials, plugs you want to plug before we get out of here or stop recording anyhow?
Oh yeah. I don't know. I just put out an album back in December. I guess not just, but it's called A Dose of Reality.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really spoken about it. This is like my first time kind of chatting and talking about what I do, I guess.
Hey,
but go listen to it. It's an all right album. It comes from a place of love and uncertainty and confusion, anxiety, depression, all this good stuff.
It's well balanced.
That's right. That's right. I really kind of tapped into that a little bit, and I don't know. I think lyrically, it's my most impressive body of work. I'm kind of hard on myself with my music, but because I'm still learning. But
I think
listen.
When you're not hard on yourself, I think you should stop, because if you're always working to be better, I think that's always a good thing.
Yeah. But I guess that's it for plugging. What about you? You wanna say anything before we go?
Oh, I'm always plugging stuff. I'm doing a podcast every other week. What do you?
That's right. You're a busy guy, Andy.
All right, but so I think we are going to turn the recording off right.
For more of my original content, visit my website, www.andyconley.com.